Hi, my name is Rachel, also known as Peach Knits by like 2 people on Instagram. To make a long story short, I have not felt good recently, and I think a contributing factor to that has been how messy my space has gotten, my office space. So I've been highly inspired by the YouTube channel Claude. She does a lot of vintage sewing and knitting, and it's really great content. She's so talented. But a few months ago, she started a stash busting series, and the first video in that was a video of her organizing all of her yarn stash and kind of planning out how she's going to work through it. And it was so satisfying to see it, and like over the past few months seeing the project she's worked on and being like, I remember when she said she was going to use that yarn for that project. That's so satisfying. I certainly don't need more yarn. I need to work through it. So inspired by Retro Claude, I'm going to clean my room and organize my yarn stash. I mean, I don't think she cleaned her room. That's just kind of my own addition, but organize my yarn stash and get to stash busting. I'll show you what it looks like. It's not great. It's just so bad. I think I've gotten to the point where it's so messy that as soon as I put something down, I just don't pick it back up again. And yeah, this isn't good for my brain. My brain needs as much help as it can get, and this is not helping it. So I won't bore you anymore. Let's just get into it. Hi, welcome to the next day. So turns out cleaning took longer than expected, and to be fair, it's not the most organized place in the world, but I feel a lot better about it. And I want to get to the fun stuff, which is stash busting. I am really excited to find out exactly what I have, and I thought I would just set you up on the ground and go through it together. I am going to use Ravelry, even though that process is going to be very annoying, because I think it'll be really satisfying to know exactly what I have. Anyway, let's get started. So the organization has begun, and I still have way more of this one specific yarn to catalog. These are the last full skeins of squish yarn that I have, and I've taken a photo of them. So I'm gonna need to weigh and probably rewind a few of these partial skeins to figure out exactly how much of this one yarn that I have. And then we can move on to the second category of acrylic I have, which is mostly mill-end yarn. I got really obsessed with mill-end yarn for a bit. Okay, update. It is settling in just how much yarn I have and how ridiculous my stash has gotten. I can't see a context in which I have to buy yarn in the next God knows how long. I think in the past 12 months, I've already become a lot more aware of my consumer decisions and especially understanding more about the different properties of different fibers. I'm definitely I can point to a lot of the yarn that feels really excessive to very early on into getting into knitting, when I think I don't know, maybe I was making up for lack of skill with just if I buy cool yarn, then it can be cool on its own, and I don't have to be good at knitting for it to be cool. I don't know, it's 2020 was a weird year for everyone, right? I mean, has anything not been weird since? I feel like partly I can chalk up the bad decisions buying wise to that, but not fully. I wasn't being a conscious spender, and this is me reckoning with that. So for the sake of brevity, I'm gonna keep scrolling away at my Ravelry cataloging, and then I'll come back with the data, the grand total, and what I intend to do with it all. I'm back. It's been another day. I did a bit more cleaning, a bit more organizing, and I already feel so much better about my office. It's just in a way better spot. It's not the most organized place ever, but I am not the most organized person ever, so it doesn't really make sense for it to be that, does it? And all of my yarn is now cataloged into Ravelry. So the grand total of my yarn stash is 207 100-gram skeins of yarn. That's too much yarn. I've also made the decision to instill a full yarn ban until I've got down to the 100 mark. So about half of my yarn stash I have to use up before I can even look at a yarn store funny, you know? I feel so much lighter and better and energized after doing this, and I'm really glad I took the time. In terms of my knitting plans, I thought I would get into that now. So a huge chunk of my yarn stash is my Squish acrylic yarn. I don't know, I have a lot of it. It's about 60 skeins that have been left over, and I've been working through this collection since 2020 when I made that faithful, unwise decision to buy so much. Focusing on that, I have also got a Centro knitting machine, which I've been experimenting with to just try out new patterns, try out new techniques. I found an account from Wales, her name is Kaz Crafts, I believe, who makes these really cool Centro knitting tutorials of stuff that I haven't really seen before, where she's using the knitting machine and the way it functions to like create stitches that I have no idea how you would hand knit. It's really cool, like kind of wrapping and skipping and very cool stuff. So I've been watching a lot of her videos. The background there, you can see one of her hats that I've already knit up from a tutorial with Squish yarn. So I'm already on it. I'm already on this yarn busting, stash busting journey. In terms of other projects I have in mind, I have a lot of individuals of the Squish yarn. So again, hats, probably gonna be my main choice, maybe mittens, smaller accessory knits. And then I'm making a kind of rainbowy, multicolored panel blanket with my Centro. I've already started to make panels for that, which is really fun. I think that's gonna help me get through a big chunk of the individuals. And then, kind of speaking of my Centro and my mill end yarn collection, which I have a lot of my acrylic collection are from mill end yarn bags from Spotlight, because again, I had a torrid love affair with these packages because it just felt like such a good deal. Especially Spotlight does half off them quite often, so you can get like 400 grams of whatever yarn you like, well, mostly acrylic, let's be real, for like, I think it's like $10 when it's half price, which is insane. And I mean, speaking as a more conscious consumer, I really don't need to be doing that, but because I don't feel super precious about it like I do with my hand-dyed yarn collection, which has some beautiful yarns from like Woolen Works and Big Little Yarn Co., I feel freer to kind of experiment with that mill end yarn. So continuing to use my Centro to figure out other ways that it can be used. I made a bolero, which I feel like I haven't seen before. So using my mill end yarn for that is, I think, probably going to be my main priority, and just pushing my creative limits on how I use it, because I really can't promise that this doesn't exist on the internet yet. I have a light brown yarn that I think maybe if I hold double, I could use to make the Drift Jacket by Rose Knitwear, which is this beautiful, like, geometrically cabled, oversized jacket that looks gorgeous. I've already bought the pattern for that, and I'm really excited to knit that, and I think the light brown might work. My only concern is that I might not have enough for my size. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. In my cotton segment, I have a few mixed yarns that are like part wool, part cotton, or like cotton and bamboo, that I think could work for some of the camisole patterns that My Favorite Things Knitwear has put out. I'm not too sure, but that is kind of my intention. And then as well, I'm going into summer, I'm in Australia, so there'll be plenty of opportunities for me to use plant-based fibers in the next 3 months. So I'm probably going to be leaning more on this segment. And that pink yarn there that you see, really cool stuff. Okay, it is night, so I cannot demonstrate it. Maybe I'll insert a clip of how it works here. But it is UV reactive dye that I bought online, which means that this yarn goes from pink to blue in the sunlight, which is so cool. And I think it would be really cute to make like a summer tank, maybe add like, maybe pick up stitches along the strap and like keep increasing, so it's like a bit of a ruffle, kind of like an apron-y type, you know, and it has ruffles on the straps. I feel like that could be a really cute summer top. So again, ideas are churning. I have some faux fur yarn from Kmart, solely because I was like, Kmart sells faux fur yarn? Okay, sure. And I really would love to make like kind of like a fuzzy bucket hat with that, because I think it'd be really cute, but too hot for that right now. I don't know if I'm going to pick that up anytime soon. The next big like batch of colors that I bought from, again, the Squish yarn is a mix of blue and green, and I also have one like off-white skein that I think I want to do a Lirika Matoshi inspired vest, because she has this really beautiful like blue sky, green grass, fuzzy clouds jumper that she sells. But for me, I don't think I would wear a full jumper knit like that, and also I'm kind of intimidated by the color work, so I think if it's a smaller project like a vest, maybe a little less color work. I have to graft that as well if I want to do that, so that's also a bit intimidating, but that is my intention for that big kind of batch of yarn. To wrap up, I still have some ideas of how I want to use the yarn germinating around in my brain, but I'm at a phase right now that I want to use this energy and momentum that's my dog, to just start doing, like, just get to it. I'm really feeling great after doing all of this, and as I mentioned earlier, this was heavily inspired by Retro Claude's stash busting series. Seriously, go check out her channel if you're into knitting or retro sewing. I really recommend it, and I felt so motivated watching her work through her stash, or continue to work through her stash, that is why I'm here now. So with that, I think I'm done. I think I'm all talked out, so I'll let you go. Bye!